Welcome to this episode of the Neurokrish immersion, which is timed to coincide with Udbhavada Museum Studio releasing its totem, which is handcrafted in teak and has been developed to depict the story of Ramayana, the Ramar Pattabhishekam in particular. And in honor of this stupendous event, I have decided to title this podcast From Dharma to Dopamine, where epic wisdom meets neuroscience. Now let's ask the question, what if the Ramayana was not just history, but the story of your mind? And in this podcast, we'll explore how one of humanity's oldest epics maps onto contemporary neuroscience in extraordinary ways. The Ramayana reveals itself as something far more intimate than a divine narrative, a sophisticated map of human consciousness. Each persona, each trial, each triumph mirrors the intricate dance of neural networks within our brains. Why connect Dharma with dopamine? Dharma is order, restraint, responsibility, the scaffolding of ethical life and social harmony, the ancient framework for understanding right action and conscious choice. Dopamine is all about motivation, pleasure, pursuit, the neurochemical engine of desire and reward. It propels us forward and shapes our habits through the promise of satisfaction. Now, when the chemistry meets conscience, the brain becomes the battlefield. The balance between Dharma and dopamine mirrors the brain's perpetual negotiation between control and craving, between prefrontal regulation and limbic drive. And indeed, this is the subject of one of our future podcasts on the tug of war in our brains. This fundamental tension of human experience, the eternal dialogue between what we should do and what we want to do, is a very important aspect of what we are talking about today. Let's look at the Ramayana as a map of the mind. The Ramayana transits its theological origins to function as a psychological atlas of inner experience. This reframing invites us to read the epic not as distant mythology, but as an intimate mirror reflecting our own cognitive architecture. Beyond theology, we are looking at a sophisticated model of mental functions, conflicts, and resolutions encoded in narrative form. Beyond neural archetypes, we are looking at each persona in the epic embodying specific cognitive functions or dysfunctions, creating a cast of neural players. And this is a neuroscience parable. The epic becomes a teaching story about integration, regulation, and the journey towards mental coherence. Let's start with Sri Rama, the regulator who represents the prefrontal cortex in action. Sri Rama embodies Dharma, the principle of right action, moral reasoning, and disciplined restraint. He is the archetypal ruler of the self, the voice that says should rather than want. In neuroscience terms, he represents the prefrontal cortex, the brain's executive suite responsible for planning, impulse control, and rule-based decision-making. The prefrontal cortex enables us to override immediate urges in favor of long-term goals. Now, there is a shadow side to this regulation. While executive control involves inhibition of inappropriate responses, strategic planning, working memory, and cognitive flexibility, and while moral logic involves the evaluation of right and wrong, the adherence to social contracts, the processing of ethical dilemmas, the cost of all this is that overregulation can suppress emotion, empathy, and spontaneity. Duty without heart can become rigidity. Overactivation of the prefrontal cortex, therefore, particularly the dorsolateral regions, can actually blunt emotional resonance and reduce empathic accuracy. When reason dominates completely, we lose access to emotional intelligence. And when duty overrides desire, reason can become its own tyranny. Keep this in mind when we come back to another part of the Ramayana in the future. Let's think about Sri Lakshmana. He is our sentinel, vigilance and salience networks in our brain. He represents unwavering attention, loyalty and boundary keeping. His famous Lakshmana Rekha, the protective line drawn around Sita Mata that must not be crossed, serves as a powerful metaphor for cognitive inhibition. Our salience network constantly monitors both the external environment and internal states, determining what deserves attention and what can be safely ignored. It's the neural basis for both appropriate caution and pathological anxiety. And indeed, Sri Lakshmana is known for his devotion to his brother, but also for his hyper-vigilance. The salience network in our brain includes areas like the anterior cingulate cortex, the anterior insula, and the ventral striatum. And indeed, if you're looking at the visual guide, you will see a connecting diagram pointing all this out. Now, salience detection involves identifying what matters, what threatens, and what requires a response. And this is the brain's alarm and priority system. Sustained attention is the capacity to maintain focus on relevant stimuli while filtering out distractions. And this indeed is the role of the sentinel. The cost of hypervigilance, however, is that it depletes cognitive resources, leads to exhaustion, reduces our flexibility, and eventually leads to burnout. Too much vigilance turns protection into a prison. Let's now consider Sita Mata. She embodies Prakriti, nature, selfhood, the nurturing intelligence that grounds identity and emotional continuity. In this way, she represents our default mode network, the brain's system for self-referential thinking, autobiographical memory, and narrative construction. The DMN is active when we are not focused on external tasks, when we reflect, remember, imagine, and construct the ongoing story of who we are. It's an important part of our autobiographical self, and it's an important part of our emotional resilience. You can, if you're looking at the visual guide, see the parts of the brain involved in the DNM. And as I do this, I will also remind you that in our Monk in the Brain podcast, we have actually looked at this part of the brain very, very carefully. Now, Sita's abduction and exile parallel the disconnection from self that occurs under severe stress. When trauma strikes us, the coherent sense of self can fragment or become inaccessible. Sita Mata's time in Ashoka Vatika, isolated but not broken, maintaining inner strength despite captivity, mirrors the resilience that allows the blessed to preserve core identity even in devastating circumstances. When the self is exiled, resilience becomes the way home. Let's now think about Sri Hanuman, who represents integration in action, the connector of many worlds. Sri Hanuman represents something profoundly different, not a single neural system, but the integration of systems, the connective network that allows disparate parts of the brain to function as a unified whole. His devotion, bhakti, humility, and extraordinary courage embody the neural state we now call flow, ego suppression in service of a unified purpose. Now, what's the neuroscience of such devotion? The vagus nerve regulates our heartbeat, breathing, and the calm and connected response that people like Sri Hanuman bring to the table. Practices like chanting directly stimulate our vagal tone. When challenge meets capacity and self-consciousness dissolve, we enter flow, enhance performance and system integration. A high vagal tone correlates better with emotional regulation, social engagement, and cognitive flexibility. Research confirms that practices long associated with bhakti, chanting, rhythmic breathing, devotional absorption, increase heart rate variability, reduce inflammation, and enhance psychological well-being. Indeed, devotion isn't blind, it's integrative neuroscience in motion. And as I talk about the vagus nerve, I would like to remind you about the podcast on the wandering nerve, which talks about this whole part of our neural system in great detail. Sri Hanuman, therefore, represents the pinnacle of the neuroscience of devotion, where there is neuroscience in motion leading to very significant actions that bring about great change. Now contrast all this with Ravana, who demonstrates the fragmented mind to us. His is a story of desire, dopamine, and disarray. Ravana's 10 heads symbolize 10 conflicting impulses, the mind fragmented by competing desires, unable to integrate into coherent purpose. He represents dysregulation between prefrontal control and limbic reward systems. Despite his brilliance and power, he is enslaved by desire, a perfect illustration of the dopamine trap. Now, what's the dopamine trap? When we are in pursuit of something, the dopamine spikes in anticipation of reward, driving goal-directed behavior and motivation. Achievement, however, brings only brief satisfaction before the dopamine drops, leaving emptiness and renewed craving. The trap is that each pursuit promises fulfillment but delivers only temporary relief and stronger future cravings. Indeed, this is the mechanism of why we are addicted to do things over and over again, and material addictions seldom lead to satisfaction. The dopaminergic system, therefore, drives wanting, motivation, pursuit, and craving, but not liking, actual satisfaction and contentment. And this is why desire can multiply endlessly without ever producing lasting peace. When desire multiplies, the self divides. The Ramayana, therefore, presents neural systems and divinity, representing the wisdom of our ancients. Each protagonist represents not just a moral quality, but a functional neural system with its own patterns, capacities, and vulnerabilities. Sri Rama represents moral reasoning and executive control. The brain correlate is the prefrontal cortex, and the core ideals are regulation and Dharma. Sita Mata is autobiographical self and memory, representing the default mode network in our brain, and what she embodies is ideal, identity, and resilience. Sri Lakshmana is vigilance and boundary setting, and he represents the salience networks in our brain, the core ideal being protection and alertness. Sri Hanuman is all about integrated neural functioning and flow states, representing the vagal pathways. The core ideal is unity and service. And Ravana is all about desire and fragmentation, our limbic system in overdrive, leading to dysregulation. Every divine persona in this epic lives inside our neural circuitry, therefore. Now we come to a controversial and climactic moment in the Ramayana, when Sri Rama banishes Sita Mata in order to demonstrate justice as a king. This choice, Raja Dharma, public duty over prema, personal love, represents a fundamental tension in human cognition. So Bhadra, one of his 10 informers, comes in and says, they do not approve of your accepting the Rani who lived in the captivity of the Rakshasa. They believe they need to face similar conduct in their wives as the public follows what the Rajas do. And I am quoting here the Ramayana, Volume 1 by Sri Dushyant Sridhar, who is part of today's function. Sri Rama's moral dilemma embodies the left and right brain. The left brain, I have always followed the right path, but my act of accepting Sita is viewed as a blot on our Vamsa. Right brain, O Rani, you brought fame to the Vamsa of Janaka. How is it that one of your grace has to meet with such Vidhi? And this is his conflict. How does he resolve it? I am aware that she is completely innocent, but in my view, a blot on our Vamsa is more overpowering than the truth. So, to Sri Rama, who embodies the prefrontal cortex, who embodies the left brain, what he chooses to do is to choose duty over affection. The left and right hemispheres are very different. Left hemisphere is logical, rule-based reasoning and categorical thinking, language-driven moral justification, abstract principles over human relationships, consistency and precedent being prioritized, and emotion being viewed as potential contamination. Do you see yourself in this description of the left hemisphere? The right hemisphere, on the other hand, embodies compassion, contextual, relational understanding, emotional resonance and empathy, particular persons over general rules, integration of contradictory truths, embodied wisdom and felt sense. The left hemisphere is more verbal and analytical, the right more visual and intuitive. Which one do you feel you belong to? Let's go now to the more controversial Devdutt Patnaik novel, Sita. Here, Sri Rama comes to the end of the story where his forces are stopped by Love and Kush, his sons. And Sri Rama comes there and he says, tell the mother of these boys that Ram rejected the queen of Ayodhya, never his wife. Tell her that the past 14 years in the palace have been worse than the 14 years in the forest. Let her know that I strove to make the kingdom happy, but I myself was never happy. But to return as queen, she has to prove her chastity publicly before the people of Ayodhya, so that they will never mock their king again. And hearing this, Sita Mata says, the earth accepts all seeds with love. She bears the judgment of her children with love. If I have been as true as the earth in my love for Rama, then may the earth split open and take me within. The mountains rumbled, the river stopped, the earth split open, and Sita descended below the earth. Sita's final act, the return to earth, was the reclaiming of agency. And Sita Mata's story concludes with this return to earth, her mother refusing Rama's final offer of reconciliation. Far from defeat, this represents the ultimate reclaiming of agency, choosing one's own ending, determining one's own narrative closure. And Sita chooses, therefore, dissolution over subjugation. And here, two major moral streams, the reason-based prefrontal cortex and the emotion-based amygdala and temporoparietal junction, are involved. The information from a neuroscientific perspective is integrated in the anterior cingulate cortex. And indeed, this is how most of us resolve our moral dilemmas. If you look at this in a comprehensive way, what does the epic teach us? Mental health isn't about balance, it's about integration, the coherent functioning of differentiated systems that remain in flexible communication. Sri Rama embodies regulation of affect and arousal. Sita Mata embodies sense of identity and self. Sri Lakshmana embodies vigilance and safety sensing. And Ravana embodies dysregulation and fragmentation. Psychiatrist Dan Siegel defines mental health as integration, the linkage of differentiated paths. This means healthy functioning requires both distinct neural systems with specialized functions and communication between those systems. Sri Hanuman is that unique force of integration. Today, we have scientific evidence that confirms the vagus nerve's pivotal role in brain-body communication and whole-person health. In his devotion, Sri Hanuman leaps, demonstrating that integration, not separation, is the path to extraordinary capability. The Ramayana is not one story but many. Across India and Southeast Asia, from Valmiki's Sanskrit verses to Kamban's Tamil Iramavatram, from Tulsidasa's Ramacharitmanas to Thai Ramakien and countless folk tellings, each version offers its own emphasis. Yet, in all these variations, what we see is the same wisdom of our ancients, a profound exploration of human impulse and restraint, love and duty, fragmentation and integration. Today, neuroscience gives us new words for what the Ramayana has always taught about the brain's networks, our moral agency, and the timeless dilemmas of being human. Your brain is indeed the battlefield. Your Dharma is the compass that provides direction without rigidity. Your dopamine is the fuel that powers pursuit but requires wise regulation. And your capacity for integration, your inner Hanuman, is the bridge that can unite these forces. The epic continues. The story is your own. If you enjoyed this podcast, do subscribe, like and share. We are on Spotify, Apple and YouTube. And if you want to see the visual guide, it's on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening.